We're about to go so deep on this movie that has an auspicious title that if you Googled it the wrong way, I'm sure you could go down a really funny rabbit hole and end up with a completely different movie. Although I did find out there's like 10 movies with this title, but I also think you might find an X-rated movie with this title because it'd just be too easy. We're going to go skin deep on a movie called Skin Deep, which comes out in 1989 with John Ritter. However, right before I clicked record, Jordan asked me an insane question that shattered dimensions. And no, I've never stuck peanut butter on an Oreo. When I asked her what was the mechanism, do you open the Oreos and add the peanut butter to the cream? And I guess not. What's the deal? What's the deal
You
with your
could.
snacky snack?
I just put it on peanut butter. I mean, peanut butter on the Oreo. You could take the cookie and dip it in the peanut butter,
I wonder if
but
this is like a regional Colorado thing because Jordan spent some time in Colorado. So maybe the people out there in the Denver side are
I think it's
eating Oreo
just
with peanut butter on top. I don't know.
I think it's a girls from the 90s thing because of the movie The Parent Trap with Lindsay Lohan. That's like one of the snacks when they're
Which
trying
is
to
not the
become
original Parent Trap, by the way.
Duh, I know. I was
You're
speaking to my 90s girls. There's a point in the movie where they finally get stuck in in the cabin together, and that's like what they kind of bond over is peanut butter with Oreos, and it's so good. So
Crack open a cold box of wine or pour something cold on ice because it's the Binge Watchers Podcast.
Freaking peanut butter on Oreos.
so
Welcome
good.
back to the Oreo Cookie Podcast Hour with your host, Johnny Cookie, and his co-host, Jordan Snickerdoodle.
I'll take it. I like snickerdoodle.
Way to get distracted in the first 3 minutes, Jordan.
Okay.
Home video headlines. Did you see the Zendaya robot? She went to the premiere of Dune 2. That's hard to say. The Dune 2 premiere in what looked like a very uncomfortable robot suit, which I guess is based on a robot suit that was like on Fashion Week from the 90s or something. I don't know.
I think it was Mugler. Yeah, and did I watch it? Of course I
Like,
watched it. She is an
I mean, she has to
icon.
sit down and watch a movie, right? So do you think the materials actually bend even though they look like uncomfortable steel plates, like nothing maneuvers in a robot suit? Because, hey, guess what? Robot suits were designed for robot skins. Robot skins were designed for robots to wear.
It's
Okay?
true. Yeah. I
Do
don't
I
know how
have a
that works.
bias against machines? Maybe. Would
Maybe
you
she
ever go to a
stands
I don't know, but
the
have
whole
you gone to
movie.
what is it?
I said maybe she stands the whole movie
She
instead
just
of sits
stands in the
down.
aisle. She just ushers people like with their
Yes, right
popcorn
this
and
way.
sodas the whole movie. I mean, she looked uncomfortable.
Yes.
Like 3 hours after getting into the costume, she had the look on her face. She had like what is known in the industry as resting bitch face. And I don't know if it's a natural thing for her or not. I mean, I've always been entertained by her. She was good in the Spider-Man movies, you know, as one of Spider-Man's sidekicks. You know, she played Mary Jane and romantic interest, whatever. But I kind of, and you like her in that. What is that?
Euphoria.
I almost said Eureka show, and there actually is a show called Eureka. It's a completely different type of show.
I am a Zendaya A1 day one. She cannot do anything wrong,
Yeah.
in my opinion. She's a fashion icon. It makes sense that she's in a robot suit for me. So I've been snatching up all of the Dune 2 content I possibly can. I'm so ready for the movie. So I was stoked to see the robot costume. Super cool.
And for all them perverts out there,
it's perfect for them too.
It's a very titillating robot suit. We'll just say that.
Yeah, it's got clear panels and metallic panels as well.
Yeah,
So
clear. Yeah, kind of like suggestive plastic in all the right places.
Yes.
That's the thing. It may not bend or be flexible. I'm sure it's not good in like, tropical weather like in Arizona, Florida, California.
Oh no. Yeah,
or
that would be
or even
sticky.
Boston because it gets freaking humid out here. It's probably not good for any humid tropical zone out there. But it's something to look at, folks. It's
You
on the
don't do it
internet.
for the
Go
comfort,
check.
that's for sure. So,
Everybody's clicking right now. There's at least 50 of our listeners. They're just like, you
oh
know.
yeah.
I mean, they heard the title of the movie, number one. They're going to go look to see what movie we're actually talking about. Now they want to see Zendaya's robot thing. To change the mood, here we go. Dennis Quaid is going to play a serial killer called Happy Face. I didn't even know that, first of all, that they even nicknamed a serial killer Happy Face, or that there was a serial killer out there calling himself Happy Face. Apparently, the show he's going to be in about Happy Face is based on a podcast about the Happy Face murders, written or produced, or I don't know who does the podcast. Maybe the killer's own daughter. I don't know, because there's like a book that is the killer's family wrote or something. I don't know. I guess I should have done more research instead of saying I don't know twice. Basically, the point I'm saying is I should have done more research about the Happy Face murderer show. I don't know anything. I didn't even know there was a serial killer named Happy Face.
I read a brief article about it, and it's based off of the book called Shattered Silence by Melissa Moore, which is the daughter of the serial killer.
Yeah. So that's what I thought. Like, I had heard the show. The way they described it in the articles was funny because it's like, oh, Dennis Quaid is playing a serial killer in a show based on a podcast about the serial killer based on a book by the serial killer's daughter or whatever. Yeah. Like, wow, this is like a lot of jumping through. Like, oh, it's the roommate's friend's boyfriend's uncle's cousin.
It's like content inception. Yeah. But
yeah. I don't know if you saw this show. It's called This Fool. It's like one of the funniest things that they've ever put on Hulu. It only got 2 seasons and it ended on a cliffhanger. The character Louise, who's like one of my favorite characters, he's on a plane to Cambodia at the end of the 2nd season. Do you know what I mean? I think it's Cambodia. He's like goes to some random Asian country because he's never been anywhere, and
it just ends there.
That country came out of like a joke within the show or something. So then like he just picks it to be like tough about it or whatever. So he's like on his way there, yeah, and that's it. So it's like, oh, dude. I'm like, it's about him and his cousin. So he's actually like a reformed, because they go like, what do they say? Like, hugs, not thugs. It's like a gangster reform program in Latino neighborhood in LA. And like, they make cupcakes and sell them to keep their like, services open or whatever. But then it gets defunded. So then they open a coffee shop. It's pretty good. It's like, again, like probably the funniest thing I've seen that like on Hulu for like Hulu original comedy or whatever. But anyway, it's going to go down as like one of these legendary shows. Like I'm trying to think of another example, but like some sitcoms or some shows, like they just end on cliffhangers and you're like, dude, what the heck? You know what I mean? There's no resolution,
Yeah.
Oh, actually another famous Jerry Seinfeld show, the Seinfeld comedy, like the characters go to jail in the last season. And you don't know if they stay there or get out or what, so.
Yeah, that's a bummer. I like a lot of the Hulu originals too, so I'm sure it was excellent. I'll have to check it out, but bummer that it ends.
Yeah, that's a good binge. Like if you're just like, oh, I need something like while I'm baking or like, I just got like a weekend. I'm just like got some time doing laundry. Or like throw it on. It's pretty funny. We often make. Oh, never mind. I was gonna keep talking about it, but I was like, oh, I'll just move on. I've said before on the show, we actually watched Nikita a little while back, and we talked about The Professional, but Luc Besson, he's one of my favorite filmmakers. He's from France. He made this movie called Subway with Christopher Lambert, and Fifth Element, probably his biggest movie, at least over here, was the Mia Jovovich and Bruce Willis like sci-fi adventure movie Fifth Element that came out. That was his, but he's gonna make a Dracula movie, but the catch is it's like when Dracula is like early days and supposedly has a marriage. I don't know. They've done Dracula's Bride movies a couple times, and we know in Bram Stoker's Dracula he had a couple wives according to the legend, and in that book or whatever. I don't know. I'm jazzed. I'd like to see a Luc Besson take on Dracula, so I was happy about that. I'm looking forward to it. Listen, folks, I don't know. This is easy. Like, we could literally program the entire show about werewolf movies, or the entire show about vampire movies. Like,
Literally.
could have easily
yeah.
just done like a genre show, you know? So, and I haven't, and you know what's funny? The movies that I give the most leniency for being critical about are, in fact, monster movies. You know what I mean? Like, I'm so accepting of certain monster movies over like
You're like,
traditional movies.
they didn't stick to any of the tropes, but I loved it anyways. Yeah.
Actually, Chris Nolan said he'd be interested in making a horror movie too, if he could come up with the right story, or if the right story, you know, found him or whatever. I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
So I can appreciate his inclination to do horror movies. I mean, he's probably one of the greatest living directors right now. Everybody's talking about him. Oppenheimer just won a bunch of British Academy Awards, the BAFTA, you know, like best director, best film, best editing, best supporting actor. Like what do they call it? Like a sweep almost at their version of the Academy Awards. However, the only thing I disagree with, Chris Nolan is apparently like also, he said in an interview that he's like a huge fan of the Fast and the Furious franchise.
Interesting.
And so then I just kind of like, I started to tune it out after that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, those movies, I guess they're guilty pleasure movies, or they're just really fun movies that people, I mean, it obviously has a giant fan base. Like, I'm not going to say anything. I mean, it has millions of fans. What do I know? They're just not really my cup of tea, except like number 3, which I guess they're saying is now a prequel, that it happens outside of the regular continuity. That's actually like a really great movie, Tokyo Drift.
It's the only one I've ever watched and remember. So
is the one where the kid goes to Japan and
is
lives
Tokyo
with his dad
Drift.
and gets into the drifting races. Yeah. It's pretty good. It's a good movie. And I think that's Justin Lin who did like one of my favorite Star Treks, Star Trek Beyond. And what else did you do? Oh, what is that movie called? Dang. He did a movie about like the Asian gangs in LA County. Oh man. And what is that movie called? Oh, Better Luck Tomorrow. That's a great movie. If anybody wants to watch like an indie drama about like inner city Asian teenage gangs, yeah. That's funny when I'm like trying to think it, like it's a good movie, but promoting like negative subject matter, you're just like, come on. you know what I mean? So
story
weird.
of my life,
like,
talking about every true crime series I've ever seen in my entire life.
Well, I played back a clip from our show. We you know, a few episodes ago, folks. I don't know if you're listening out there or watching this, maybe you'd seen our episode about Street Smart, and we were so jazzed up talking about the movie, and it's about such bad behavior. you know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Just prostitution and pimping.
Yeah,
and,
just pimping and hooking and everything in between. And like libel or is it libel? When you tell lies written, there's one's libel and one's slander, right? I think slander is spoken and libel is written because the journalist makes up the news, which is also a crime. Anyway, yeah, that's it. That's the roundup for home video headlines. And then got to kick it over to Jordan so she can have her moment with this savage stats. Let's see if they're going to be savage or playful or what. But this is like what we like to call it, savage stats.
I
Jordan
can start
Savage.
off.
With
movie.
Oh wait, I didn't even introduce the movie.
I'll do it.
Do it.
Okay.
Do it.
We
I'm gonna drink my energy water.
Tonight we are talking about Skin Deep, and like John mentioned, make sure it's the right one. So 1989, and that is with John Ritter. And the movie is about Zach Hutton. He's a womanizing drunken writer whose life seems to be falling apart at the seams. He's still in love with his ex-wife, whose family can't stand him. And he's got writer's block, keeping him from completing his last novel. He repeatedly finds himself in trouble one way or another with the law, ex-girlfriends, quite a lot going on in his life with that because he's always chasing some tail, and also including jealous ex-boyfriends or boyfriends. But that's tonight's movie. Glad I got to do the synopsis because there wasn't too much about tonight's movie for Savage Stats. Of course, it is directed by Blake Edwards, who's notorious for the Pink Panther series. He also worked on Breakfast at Tiffany's, which is one of my personal favorites. Who doesn't love that? But a lot surrounding the movie and how it was written. It was originally supposed to be titled 11, which was a sequel to his hit film 10.
This is like a mind-blowing fact. We have to just take a moment to like acknowledge that. Like, I had no idea that they
Yeah.
were gonna make a sequel to 10, which is a kind of like a pretty iconic movie too, because that's the Bo Derek, Dudley Moore comedy, right? So I didn't know that they were gonna do 11. Come on,
Right.
like, anyway.
Well, and I tried to look up the synopsis for 10, and it's kind of something similar
It's the
to
same
like,
thing. It's a
yeah,
drunk playboy who's having a nervous breakdown, and he falls in love with a married woman or whatever, who's Bo Derek.
right,
Meets her at a
exactly.
beach. And this movie has beaches, a beach cottage. So, yeah, you drop one character in for another,
Right.
you're right for the same movie.
Well, it was originally written for that actor. And when they realized that Dudley Moore wasn't coming back, that's when they put in John Ritter. So originally, the script was supposed to be a sequel. He got halfway through writing it when he found out that Moore wasn't going to be returning to the movie. So he had to take what he had and change the names and just continue to write the movie Skin Deep as if it was an original script and not a sequel. So it also, like with Dudley Moore deciding to not come back, like,
I mean,
definitely,
we're talking about everybody we're talking about tonight, folks, are our iconic filmmakers and iconic actors and comedians in Hollywood, from like the 70s to the 90s. And well, John Ritter was working up into the 2000s and then unfortunately died of a heart attack. But
in like what, 2000, was it
Yeah.
2010 or
and
something?
they probably
Yeah.
know John Ritter from Problem Child or
I mean, Three's Company. Yeah.
And then Dudley Moore, as you said, in number 10. But he's also like in the British comedy world of the 70s, he's a big deal. And he's in this movie called Arthur, which has almost the same story. It's like he's made the same movie maybe like, how they say like typecasting, like
Right.
meandered through these movies about these drunken playboys, and there's like 3 or 4 of them that he's done. But
Well,
then
and
the Pink Panther movies, we have to slow up a bit because I have to talk about them. Like,
say it.
so
Let it fly.
the Pink Panther movies always open with animation of the actual Pink Panther, but he's not a character in the movie because the Pink Panther just refers to a world-class thief, right? And it's really about the detective, that Inspector Clouseau, who's always chasing him, played by Peter Sellers, who's another iconic comedic actor. And but I remember like how you get brought into those movies if you watch them on TV. You think it's going to be about the animated Pink Panther if you're little.
Yeah.
So that's what I thought. That's
And
how.
then
So
it's, yeah.
that's so I'm like 5, and I'm like, oh, cool, a pink cat. It looks like Looney Tunes. But then the movie starts, and it's about it's like a slapstick comedy, about the guy trying to catch this world famous thief. But also, what a good introduction if you're like little. I mean, you're about to watch a cartoon and you're watching the Pink Panther movies.
You're like, this is not what I thought it was going to be.
I don't know if I can really respect the remakes though. I mean, Steve Martin, I think, is in 2 like Pink Panther remakes with and Kevin Kline. Is Kevin Kline the detective, or is it reversed? Is he in one of them as the bad guy? I can't remember. Anyway, I mean, Steve Martin's a comic icon too, but the remaking the Pink Panther just seems unnecessary. Okay, sorry to interrupt you.
No, that was perfect. I think just to add to that, because you mentioned like Arthur 2 on the Rocks or whatever, like Arthur and Arthur 2, Dudley Moore had like essentially had just completed that movie, and I think that led into him not wanting to do 11, right? So that's how Skin Deep became Skin Deep. And the final fact would be Nina Foch, who played John Ritter's mother-in-law in the film. She's a super funny role. She obviously hates his guts, thinks that he's like the worst thing that ever happened to her daughter. But she was originally Ritter's acting coach when he was a student at Hollywood High School. And apparently he was super nervous to meet her again on the set of the movie. So I like that chemistry that they have in the film.
So, because of Southern California's like relationship with like the TV and film industry, like just going to a high school in Hollywood and taking a drama class, you could get cast in a TV show. You know,
That's where my mom went to high school. So
she went to which one?
Hollywood High School, yeah.
Really?
So
Wow.
like we'll be
Okay.
watching movies and she'd be like, "Oh yeah, I went to high school with them." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." Yeah.
6
So-
Degrees with Miss Savage.
That's it. Savage stats for you today about Skin Deep.
Wait, how did you not mention the muscle girl, Zap from American Gladiator?
Well,
in
I
this
did
movie?
see that, right? As that, see, I never watched American Gladiator, but of course I
Oh.
loved, the
So,
characters.
okay, well, let's set the picture for everybody. So, American Gladiator, average out of shape 9-to-5ers would go up against ripped bodybuilding, steroid crushing gladiators. I mean, like warriors. And during like the heyday of bodybuilding and excitement in the country, and like you would compete basically in these aerobic activities, and then also they shot you with like Nerf guns, something like that, like.
It's wild.
Oh, they briefly brought back American Gladiator with some of the old stunt performers, with Hulk Hogan hosting like 3 or 4 years ago. But the original is the best. I mean, God, you remember when you had time to just like do nothing and watch things? Because
It's,
I
like,
mean,
the
how great would it
best.
be to just like go home and turn on old episodes of 1989 American Gladiator and just sit there, you know what I mean, and watch all this stuff? Because it sounds great. Average, out of shape office worker stuck behind a computer. Suddenly, you got to compete with gladiators, and win these games. Dang. But bringing her up too early, because I'm going to bleed into one of my favorite bits.
I was gonna say, I was like, she probably would fit really good in favorite bits section of the pod.
Hold on. Yeah, I don't want to get too excited and jump too far ahead in the favorite bits, but if you're excited for movies, you're a movie lover, and you want to get a box of movies, we have an affiliate code for this thing called lovedagainmedia.com. We have a dedicated link, actually, lovedagainmedia.com/binge, which is part of the name of our show. If you go there, you can order up movie boxes that will show up, then mail it to you. Genre boxes, comedy, horror, drama, sci-fi. It's a box of movies. You can randomize it, or you can go through their categories and try to make it more selective. Anyway, check it out if you really like movies. Otherwise, you're just going to be watching hours and hours of American Gladiator. And I got really excited and was going to get ahead of myself by talking about Zap from American Gladiator being in the movie. But we've arrived at favorite bits. Favorite bits from Skin Deep 1989 with John Ritter. Jordan, kicking it back over to you. Actually, my tangents have been pretty, like, almost non-tangible. Like, my tangents have not been that wild tonight. I've been staying on track.
It's about time for me to be in the driver's seat, Just kidding. I just was laughing like every 5 minutes of this movie. I thought the pacing
Extremely
was
funny
incredible.
movie. As it turns out, ridiculous funny movie.
So
Absolutely.
funny. I was like literally laughing out loud at the TV, and I never do that. Like I really I'll laugh.
It sneaks up on you,
internally.
right? There's a couple times it comes out of nowhere, and you're like, "Damn, that was really funny."
I'll leave the bodybuilder moment to you, but I would say the next one that just like made me like, I'm pretty sure Pat had to like run in to make sure I was okay while I was watching this movie because I was like screaming at the TV, but it was like because of laughter. I thought that the hotel scene, so essentially the Zach has been like banished, right, from his house. His girlfriend had burned down the second house that he built, and he's staying in this hotel. And he comes across this beautiful woman and he tries to buy her a drink. And as they're going to deliver the drink, obviously her boyfriend at the time sits down and he's supposed to be this like, British rocker or Australian rocker or whatever, kind of fast forward a couple minutes and it all kind of comes into play of where he's going to hook up with her because the boyfriend has now left. And so she wants to use some protection. And then it is literally, I just was laughing so hard. So essentially, he has glow in the dark condom on. I know that it wasn't really glow in the dark. It's supposed to be like these Chinese herbs that are like supposed to be, making
Yeah,
him,
two things happen.
feel a certain way.
The zany, crazy rock star boyfriend has glow in the dark condoms and also, Chinese sexual herbs. So he takes the herbs, pops on the condom, but they're super. It's like not just glow in the dark, but super iridescent or whatever. Like they're definitely
Very bright.
making sure you can light it because of the contrast. So they go into the dark, and it's just like, I kind of feel like they're making a lightsaber joke, like a
I
Star
thought so
Wars
too.
lightsaber
I
joke,
was
right?
like,
Yeah.
are we about to have a lightsaber fight? Like in
crossing the swords.
does it
Yeah.
because the funny part is that the boyfriend storms in, he hides in the closet, the boyfriend doesn't know he's actually there, the girl shoos the boyfriend away, he comes back, right? Zach comes back and they're trying to get busy, and the boyfriend takes it as that she was like trying to like play hard to get. So the boyfriend comes back in, and you've got like a red glow in the dark.
Yeah, evil red condom light.
Yeah, with like a blue. And it just like I just thought it was so well played. And I love that they like loop it back at the very end where there's like a red, white, and blue one. And when he's spoiler finally back with his ex-wife. I just thought that whole bit, like, it made me laugh. I was like,
he decided
jumping.
he has a penchant, or he likes
He likes it.
dark,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, it's kind of funny to do a recall joke like that.
It was good. I thought the like physical comedy was honestly hilarious. Like, they're even him and his buddy's wife are like in the vacation rental, and the wife like just falls right off of the chair. I just thought people did so good, like with the physical comedy. It like actually sold that this was going down. I thought the fact that they had mixed up the parties, he thought it was a costume party, and it really was supposed to be like a gala. And so he shows up to the gala, dressed up as Aladdin.
Well, yeah, what's funny is like he gets into so much trouble that his best friend is his lawyer. So his lawyer tells him, "Oh, hey, it's a costume party," but then got the date wrong, and his wife corrected the lawyer at the last minute while getting ready. So the lawyer's in a tux or whatever. But then, dude shows up, dressed as Aladdin, from Arabian Nights or whatever, and gets laughed out of the party. And I guess they're hobnobs. They're like snobby aristocrats. So to them, it's really like funny and makes him look bad because he's trying to establish himself as a popular writer or whatever on the up and comers or whatever. What about the opening? Did you like the opening? Because basically he's like, he's in bed with the girlfriend. Then you find out like you think the lady with the gun is the wife who's just caught him, and that's why the gun is out. No, you find out the one with the gun is actually the regularly scheduled mistress, and who didn't know about the girlfriend, and then the wife comes home.
Right.
you know what I mean?
Like the girlfriend's with the gun, she catches him with his mistress, but then which is the hairdresser, but then the wife comes home to catch all three situations going on. Yeah. No, it was funny. It was a perfect way to kind of like lay it out, but it was so good. There was so many moments. I laughed the whole time. So
then obviously, I mentioned it has the muscle girl of my dreams in it, Zap from American Gladiator, and kind of a funny scene. So they're gonna hook up, and then he wakes up late because the alarm clock doesn't go off or something correctly. But then he wakes up in the middle of her like yoga class or no aerobics, not yoga. So he's like, but it is briefs, whatever, his little tidy whities, and he plays it off though. I mean, he improvises and plays it cool by joining the class. Because he gets locked out of I guess you can put it together. The muscle girl must be a aerobics instructor or teacher, and she her apartment's behind the studio or something. I don't know. Because he goes through a door and he's locked out. Yeah, and he's stuck in class. Pretty funny moment. That's also in the trailer. So if you're watching the previews and you're like, "Oh, what is this movie?" It'll bring you in. But he's sitting on the beach and he's asking God for a sign or whatever, and then he gets knocked over by a big wave, and then he tells the lawyer, "Oh, God must be a gag writer. I figured it out." And then he gets knocked over by a ginormous wave, and it looks like it was John Ritter who gets sent sliding across the floor of the beach condo or whatever, right?
Yeah.
That was a laugh out loud moment for me. because it's just so well timed.
Yeah.
And it comes out of nowhere, and it might be a little over the top, but the way this movie does it, you accept it or whatever. So we have a rating system on the show. It's pretty unique to us, but people also like it. They're starting to like it online. It's binge now, which means you got to watch it before you get to anything else. Binge later, put it on the list, but get around to it. Binge never, which, if you're having an existential crisis, according to Jordan, it doesn't actually exist. But theoretically, it means don't watch it. Don't get to it. Don't waste your time. You can't get the 2 hours of your life back. Anyway.
For me,
Regardless of the politics and whether or not Oppenheimer's a good movie, it's pretty damn long. And it would too long. Like 3
it's
hours.
a long movie. It was
So-
still really good.
So I would say if movies waste your time, then they have a problem. Wow. I'm fine. I'm ready to go. I don't know where you are, where you land with this movie.
Binge now for sure. I love it when we watch a movie and the first thing I do the next day is go and tell all my coworkers, you have to watch this movie. It was so fun. Can't wait to talk about it on the pod. And that was like this movie. I just laughed the whole time. I thought it was so good. It's cheeky. He does great.
You liked it more than
comedy.
just doing your homework for the show? She's like, I told people in real life about it.
Exactly.
Dang.
That's a lot,
Yeah, sure. Dang. I like the entire movie except for it gets to a Christmas party. He finally finished his book. He's kind of teasing his old girlfriends, but they're all in kind of like speaking terms. So he's sober. Things seem to be going okay. I will acknowledge that it's like, they accurately show you what does a writer do when they're not writing. They're drinking and fornicating. It seems pretty accurate. They're doing everything but writing. And then they finally write. It's nice that his book is popular. It might end up just on Amazon.com if he had been writing in modern day, but they like his little novel. I assume it's about I assume his books are like about relationships, right?
Right.
Or like some fictionalized novel version of like his adventures or something.
They
With
insinuate it at that party too,
Yeah.
because one of the characters, I forget, not Rebecca, because that's the girlfriend to his son, but one of the girlfriends insinuates, was I just research or like
Oh dang, yeah,
essentially for
just
the
a
book.
chapter in a book.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny. So it's fine, whatever. It's kind of like they're wrapping it up, kind of like a bookend style. Everybody's in a good mood. He's fixed his relationships with most of the characters. Will they, won't they, with the wife? But we're gonna find out in the next scene what happens. But it ends up being a binge later for me because I think it starts to fall apart towards the end, right? Like it's not as. I mean, are we splitting hairs? I don't know. Like, I would like people to get to it. I like John Ritter. If you're looking for one more thing, and you've already seen him in Three's Company, and you've seen the Problem Child movies, and maybe you saw what is it, like 8 Simple Rules for Dating My Teenage Daughter, like the big show he was on before he died. So I mean, you may have seen him as doing the voice of Clifford the Big Red Dog. I don't know.
He plays a part in Buffy the Vampire Slayer too.
Oh yeah, that's right. What's
guy.
funny about here's what's funny. So like he's like in Problem Child, he's like it's hard to really say. He's like a square. So he's like a very normal dad figure to like a really eccentric child with problems. And then like it's about him kind of like, trying to learn to be a dad. And then so then you take like a nice guy like John Ritter and then you put him into Buffy where he's a crazy
like
stepdad,
overprotective stepdad. Yeah.
Spoiler alert for Buffy. He turns out to be a malfunctioning robot or whatever. And then also he's the bad sheriff in Bride of Chucky or whatever. So he's also a horror movie. So they're kind of making fun of it, right? Because his attitude or his reputation was that he was like a real nice guy. You know what I mean? One of these nice guy actors, and then you put him in those types of shows and movies. However, I mean, I guess like this movie's coming off his sex appeal from Three's Company for sure, right? Because even the beginning is a little bit Three's Company, right? So definitely the sex appeal of early John Ritter is probably fueling the excitement for this movie. However, I feel like it's not as popular as it should be, right?
Yeah.
I only literally I just found out about it. You know, I should have known about it for a while, but I've only known about it for maybe a year, maybe two, and just never decided to watch it. Bringing Jordan in on some of these movies is really fun for me because I don't know which way she's going to go with some of these titles, which is making the show super interesting. But that's it. Like, because I think it falls apart in the later half of the movie, like the last maybe 20 minutes fall apart. So yeah, get around to it. Like exactly my experience, what I just said. Get around to it for your John Ritter experience, but it doesn't have to be rushed to the top of your pile. What are the fans doing? Talking a lot of trash on TikTok, that's for sure. Actually, no, they're pretty well engaged on TikTok, which is kind of like that's an experiment because I have no interest in social media anymore at all, really. Even though in real life I get paid to market things, you know what I mean? Like,
yes, story of my life.
Just like Jordan and I both work in some aspect of marketing, but I just like I'm just over it, you know. Whatever. Some person on YouTube said like, oh, good video, but I don't really understand the beginning, middle, and end because you didn't tell me the movie you're talking about. I'm like, dude, it's a clip, man. It should be obvious that it's a clip from a pod. Like there's a microphone in the frame. We're saying the word podcast several times. Like I just thought it would be pretty clear that they're clips from the actual podcast. That's why our social is up there. But actually, I mean, that guy's an outlier because it is working. I've noticed the clips are driving a lot of traffic to the podcast on other channels. So it does work, folks. So if you're all, a little inside baseball or let's break the fourth wall. If you're a podcaster and you're deciding whether or not you should put any effort into putting your clips out there, you probably should. That's it for fan service. That's when we talk about the fans' complaints or, we'll give him back to Jordan's cat, whose name is Frank. He's in charge of HR and everything.
Send it on over.
Send it on over, yeah. Although I might file a complaint against peanut butter Oreos. I don't know. Did you ever look to see if Oreo actually issued like a peanut butter cup Oreo? They probably had. They had to have, right?
You would think just because they have like so many different types, they've got like the thins, they got double stuff, they've got like, reverse.
Which aren't really, there's a lot of videos on, we were just talking about social media. There's a lot of videos out there where they're like saying they're only stuffed 1.3. They're not actually double stuffed. So it's controversial, the amount of stuffing that you get.
Wonder if they did statistics. What if twice the amount of the filling was actually too much based off of the sample size? You know what I'm saying? So maybe it's science backed, but
clearly
you can't call it.
I've touched a nerve because Oreo is Jordan's snack of choice.
No, I don't even like Oreos. I will only eat them with peanut butter. I will only eat them with peanut butter.
Oh, yeah. Let's see. Oh, staff picks. If we watched anything else that we want to tell the audience about, Jordan sent me a 911 text saying, "Please don't talk about the end of True Detective."
Yeah, you can't. No spoilers because I haven't seen it yet. Obviously, the season finale aired on Sunday.
Okay, so when dude is drowning in the ice, Aquaman shows up and saves them. Aquaman.
Yeah, we were hypothesizing. Yeah, we were
Max crossed over their DC properties, because they're like, well, True Detective does really well, but the DC universe stuff is really sinking. So could we have a little crossover
get a little
moment?
lift? Yeah.
So Aquaman, what's his name shows up? Jason Momoa shows up there as Aquaman and saves them from, the evil sea that keeps drowning people. Actually, I mean, gosh, you jerk.
Sorry.
I'm about to break. I'm about to tell her all the awful things.
Don't even go there. Yeah. We'll have to talk about it personally, but nope. I'll watch it tonight. I promise.
Anyway, if you're watching the 4th season of True Detective, it's called Night Country, and something seems to possess people to want to wander out into the ice. Gosh. I guess all I can say is a joke that I made up about Aquaman showing up. Actually, I usually say I didn't do our regular intro at the beginning of the show. Whatever. I forgot to say who we were and what we were doing. Like, because I was about to remind them that I only spoil the things I like, and if I don't deliver a spoiler, I guess that means I
Didn't like it.
didn't like something. But
That's
we won't
okay.
talk about it.
We differed on tonight's movie,
Uh,
so I'm still excited to watch it.
My notes are saying time to wrap it up and tell people what to preview for next week. TBD. You know, we're supposed to be getting into centric character month. I mean, March is around the corner. Although, you know, I was rewatching some vampire movies that I remember when they came out on video that they sucked. But I was rewatching them and I go, like, they're actually not that bad. So it's like, do I want to break from status quo and not go along with like our... By the way, folks, our entire year is planned. If you're wondering, we have a Google document and we have movies that we've been putting a plan together. But
yeah, March is typically March Madness. So for
yeah,
all of the,
like the real March Madness, like some kind of psychological issues. However, in the past, we've run into a problem where it's like bad romance movies or thrillers, so they have a psychological bent. So then we
watch the crazy.
And then we watch. So it's like we're like, wait a minute, we just watched crazy movies about now. You know. Yeah, so thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in. Johnny Spoiler, I only spoil the movies I love. Joined as always by Jordan Savage. She's so savage she can review a movie and give you an answer without having seen it. The Savage Scream Queen herself. We've been doing some killer episodes. I don't know what to tell you people. This is like a year of rebuilding, and it's definitely like a year to stand alone. I don't know. It's a very different year it's a very different show from last year, but we also don't have these corporate overlords that like tie your hands behind your back and give you like, you know, ad libs, like give you scripts that you can only say certain things at certain times. So I like kind of a catch-22. It's like, yeah, every podcaster dreams of like, you know, big sponsor endorsements or dollars, but however the content could suffer. So right now our content is just out of control and pure content. Which has been it's been a lot of damn fun just going wild again. So
yeah,
and the way don't it was forget when it got created, you know.
Yeah, don't forget to eat your Oreos with peanut butter. That's it.
Yeah, eat your Oreos with peanut butter.
You won't be disappointed.
No, not sponsored or endorsed by either peanut butter
or Oreo
or Oreos. And now they won't because I'm like Oreos and peanut butter.
You won't be disappointed. It's the best. So.
Let me see. What are my crap snacks that I have? What do I like? The only thing that I really put peanut butter in is tortillas. Like if I'm getting peanut butter out, like that's the first thing. That's my go-to with peanut butter is to stick it in the tortilla.
With a little sugar or no? You just peanut butter?
Dang. No, it's just peanut butter. Just
like... Oh no. I used to do tortilla with cinnamon and sugar and butter.
Although I am becoming a gourmet fan of, or a gourmand, as I say, of like melted peanut butter into other food products. Like I tried to explain to somebody the other day that like, hey, there's a trend currently in cheeseburgers where they're or burgers where they're, you know, putting peanut butter on burgers and stuff like that. Like they've candied our bacon. All right. They put candy bacon jam on burgers. And there's also a bent to put the peanut butter on it. And I'm like,
peanut butter does not go on a burger.
It's an oil. If you break it down by its components, it becomes an oil. I mean, they use peanut butter oil in a lot of, you know, Asian cooking.
Yeah.
You won't do it. You won't do the peanut butter on a burger. You won't put it on a burger.
Not peanut butter. Peanut oil is delicious, though. I do like peanut oil.
Crack open a cold box of wine or pour something cold. Crack open a cold box of wine or...
That's the intro.
That's the wrong song. They're gonna think that that was the gag. They're gonna think that was the ending gag. The fact that I clicked the wrong song twice.
It was like roll it back.
I could have not said anything, but I started making every episode, folks, has like its own rhythm vibe, and like this one is like breaking the rules where we're talking about the podcast as itself as it's happening. You know what I mean? We've broken the fourth wall a couple times.
Yeah.
Yeah. She won't put peanut butter on a burger, but she'll put peanut butter on an Oreo.
It's perfect. The way Oreos were meant to be consumed.
Somebody writes to Oreo. Is it Nabisco? It might be Nabisco that owns them. I don't know.
It is Nabisco. It was. I can see it in my eye, in my brain eye. If I close my eyes, it says Nabisco. I think on the cookie, maybe on one side or in the corner.
Wait, were you watching Skin Deep while eating the peanut butter Oreos?
No, peanut butter Oreos came after.
Oh, interesting.
So good.
Okay.